Well, Mark Carney will become Canada's 24th Prime Minister at some point this week after a dominant first ballot win in Sunday's Liberal leadership race. The former Bank of Canada and Bank of England governor doesn't have a seat in Parliament, but certainly has a big job ahead of him. Joining us this morning to talk more about Carney's win and what's next is longtime Liberal insider and strategist Don Guy. Don, always good to speak to you. So let's talk about this. What do you think the messages the Liberal Party has sent to Canadians by this overwhelming first ballot win for Mark Carney?
Well, first, thanks, Nick. It's great to be with you this morning. And that sausage casserole sounded fantastic, I have to say. But, well, I think the first message the Liberal Party sent is that it listened. It listened to Canadians in making a change. And that first, the party and Justin Trudeau listened. He got out of the way. And they listened to what Canadians are looking for right now, which is a leader with strong economic credentials, who is a figure on the global stage who can confront the threat from Donald Trump, whether it is tariffs or annexation or whatever the case may be. And that overwhelming result would tell you that that listening was felt widely across all elements of the Liberal Party.
And Don, it's fascinating because we've just finished a provincial campaign where Premier Ford basically ran against Donald Trump. It seems to me like we're going to see a federal campaign now where Mark Carney is going to run against Donald Trump and B. Pierre Poilievre here. What do you think? How do you think that is going to be the dynamic here? You know, when you've got a federal campaign where you're fighting south of the border and within your own border.
Well, is that old saying, I can't remember what the length of time is, but it's a lifetime in politics, 2 weeks or whatever the case may be. And it really is. 60 days ago, the single biggest fact in Canadian politics was Justin Trudeau's negatives. Yeah. You take Justin Trudeau out of the equation, and actually the single biggest fact in Canadian politics now is Pierre Poilievre's negatives. He had huge advantages on issues like the economy and affordability. Those are gone now. Right now, Mr. Carney has the advantage on those issues, in part because of his resume and his track record. And he's been around a long time in leadership roles in Canada and elsewhere. And some people have a sense of that. But the other big thing, obviously, the orange elephant in the room is Donald Trump. And it looks like Canadians are waking up to what he is saying and want a strong leader with the credentials and with the background and the experience, and I dare say the gravitas to confront that threat and steer us to safe ground. And right now, a lot of them think that's Mark Carney.
Can I ask you, Don, as a Liberal, how worried you were, let's say, a year to 18 months ago about, not only Justin Trudeau's negatives, but the party's negative indeed, and then the turnaround here? I mean, we've seen all the public polls, Polar and others, have shown a complete reversal of fortune here, like so much wind in the sails of Liberals. If we were having this conversation about a year ago, I feel like it would be going a completely different direction.
Yeah, I think we might have actually. But, I think I think Liberals were very worried about what the election outcome would be prior to the U.S. election and the behaviors of Mr. Trump on the one hand, and obviously we're concerned about how Mr. Trudeau and his image had fallen so far into net negative territory. And to his credit, he got out of the way. And now there's a new start, a fresh start with Mr. Carney that I think a lot of people are going to respond to. To your point, we have essentially a dead heat in popular vote right now compared to a 25-point, 26-point lead for the Conservatives in December. So that's a pretty stark turnaround. If you look at the distribution of that vote, it actually does translate into a mandate for Mr. Carney and the Liberals because of the concentration of the Conservative vote in Alberta and Saskatchewan compared to some of the more seat-rich areas where Mr. Carney is doing very well.
Yeah.
So that being said, we still have to have the election.
Yeah.
And Mr. Poilievre has a message that will resonate with his base. The question is, will that continue to resonate the way it had been up until December with the rest of Canada?
Yeah, it seems like that election is likely coming sooner than later. Our Liberal insider and strategist, Don Guy, always appreciate the time. Don, thanks so much for joining us this morning.